All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December edition of the Global Chamber AI Globinar series. I'm Jacob Dietz, founder and CEO of Climo Collective. And, for me, like as a systems thinker, I do a lot of work, systems work. I've spent this year watching how AI is reshaping the way we connect ideas and ecosystems. And so it's wonderful to be with you for our final session of 2025. Yuka?
Yeah, and my name is Uvika Nakasone. I am the executive director of Global Chamber in Spain, Madrid, Barcelona, and Valencia and Malaga, four cities right now. Throughout this year, I've been working to help companies navigate global expansion. Um, Mostly for language and cultural knowledge side. But I am a techie, so I love talking about AI, and I'm kind of finding the sweet spot where this exponential technology meets human insights. That's what I kind of trying to do. And Jacob and I are honors to wrap up this series with you today. And wow, we made 2 years, right? And so let me introduce Global Chamber. If you don't know Global Chamber, um, Global Chamber is a purpose-driven business network active in over 605 metros, cities, and 195 countries. We expanded this year again, and our mission is to simplify global business and amplify impact by creating daily connection between CEOs, investors, and leaders in business.
Yes, Yuka. And what makes this community powerful is that we don't just trace trends, we're building capacity. We've spent 2025 learning together, asking the hard questions, and preparing our businesses not just to survive disruption, which there's been a lot of disruption, but to lead through it with integrity. And so, when we look back at the arc of this series for this year, we've built a robust structural foundation. In September, we looked at security. In October, our guest walked us through risk audit. And last month, Adam O'Connor showed us how compliance can be an accelerator.
But as we look toward 2026, we really realize that there's one critical piece left to address. We have the security, the audit, and compliance frameworks, but do our people actually understand the tools in their hands?
Exactly. 2025 was the year of deployment, getting the tech installed, and 2026 will be the year of adoption, getting the culture right. We're moving from the wow phase to the how phase. To scale responsibly, we need to move beyond hype and establish true AI literacy.
Yeah, we need to know what these tools can actually do and what they can't do. We need to understand hallucinations, biases, and privacy not as abstract concept, but as daily business realities. So please come to the stage, Uvika Sharma. She's based in New York, and uh, Uvika brings incredible experience from industry giants like Pfizer, Citi, and S&P, where she advised global teams on everything from supply chains to compliance. But today, she focuses on empowering organizations to navigate responsible AI adaptation through literacy and change management. Jacob?
Yes, and she is also a global ambassador for the Global Council of Responsible AI and a co-founder of Asian Women Advancing AI. Uvika is here to give us the plain English roadmap we need, the practical checklists and human in the loop practices that will keep us safe and successful in the new year.
Uvika, We are so excited to have you lead this discussion on AI literacy, unlocking AI's potential for business growth responsibly.
and helping us get ready for 2026. And so we'd like to pass the mic over, and the floor is yours, Uvika. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Yuka and Jacob. That was a very nice introduction. I really appreciate it. And I'm also super excited to know that this is going to be the last webinar, Globinar for the year. And I am extremely privileged to be the one hosting this. So with that, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I loved some of the things that Jacob, you talked about, especially that 2025 is the year of deployment. It absolutely was the year for hype. And 2026 is definitely going to be the year for responsible adoption. And surprisingly, a lot of people still don't understand what this technology means, right? And we have case studies from MIT where a lot of times you're hearing that, oh, the AI projects are not getting the ROI. My call to that is that people don't know how to use the technology well, and they don't understand the implications. So I hope that after today's session, you feel that you understand what the technology can do and cannot do. It's going to be a very brief, high-level overview, but hopefully it'll force you to ask the right questions that you should be asking as you work with AI tools. With that, I'm just going to quickly give you a very quick rundown in terms of why I am in this space. So I have been in the space, data and AI, for 23 plus years, where I work with Fortune 500 companies and I also advise startups. I definitely focus on literacy, responsible AI, and governance, risk, and compliance, my favorite topics. I did attend a session that was done by Adam, and it was phenomenal. And I also mentor startups at Cornell Tech and HBS Partners, and I teach founders at Cornell Tech about building companies responsibly. And as you heard from Jacob, that I am also a co-founder of Asian Women Advancing AI. I feel that we need to have women represented in the rooms where decisions are being made with respect to artificial intelligence. We need to be included in the data. And that was the whole mission why we started the community. How do we empower Asian women to ensure that they can shape the future of AI? And yes, I'm also co-authoring a book on building tools with OpenAI. It has been very painful writing the book. I'm definitely going to take a pause once that book finishes. That I'm going to think twice before writing another book. It has been amazing, but it's painful if you've ever authored a book. So when we talk about AI today, especially, we are going to be referring to generative AI tools. There are many different kinds of AI, and we can get into that at another point in time. But specifically for today, we are going to be talking about generative AI technologies such as ChatGPT, your Copilot, Claude, and similar systems. And because that's where a lot of the people are trying to find value, but that's where a lot of the risk also exists. So people are using these tools to draft emails and summarize documents. It's important, right, that they understand what is going on and how to use it responsibly. So why does AI literacy matter? You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be a data scientist. AI literacy is essentially not just knowing how to use these technologies, but also having the ability to question, validate, and apply AI outputs wisely, and knowing how to make decisions under uncertainty, right? Yesterday, I was at a prospective client site. They are also another consulting organization, and we'll be partnering with them next year to offer AI services and also AI governance services. And the CEO asked me a question. He said, is there a clearing house for AI bots in any decisions like these AI systems make? And I said, well, that's a very interesting question, and it could open, a new business if you guys are listening, some ideas. And my answer to him was that I don't know. I don't think it exists. Of course, there might have been something as I came today, it might exist. But the point is that AI is not supposed to be replacing human judgment. It is literally a pattern recognition machine. It can help you become faster, but every AI output you or your team produces has your name on it. And even if you've never touched the tool, and we'll talk about some examples, right, where this happened. And ultimately, the fingers came back to the human because you are the one who's responsible for making sure that everything is vetted, everything that the AI is producing is accurate. So that's why AI literacy is extremely important, right? That it's the good thing is that ever since ChatGPT came, the barriers to entry have reduced. So now people can build companies, people can develop startups, and they can become faster in doing a lot of their day-to-day jobs, right? So it's knowing how to use it responsibly. The biggest AI risk today is not regulation. Of course, in our times in the United States, it's a very fragmented space, but the biggest risk is overtrust. So AI is very good at sounding very fluent. So it generates a smooth, professional sounding text that mimics human expertise. It is very confident the way it sounds. It's super polished the way it talks to you. So if you have interacted with some AI tools, you might have noticed that how flattering the voice is and the way it talks to you. And sometimes even I wonder, I said, man, I wish my spouse was talking to me like that. But the point is that these are, again, just pattern recognition machines that they're talking to. Sadly, people are also using these tools as therapists. There's nothing wrong, but the point is that you need to be able to question and not overtrust what the AI is telling you. And people are also falling in love. Don't go and marry ChatGPT. That would be my advice. So always have your critical thinking hat on. So I'm going to show you a quick demo, and it's really just for us to see, right, that when we put something in, in a tool, what kind of answers it gives. And as I do that, your job, I want you to question, right, that would you trust this answer if you didn't know the topic? So with that, let me just move over to another screen. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And what do you see?
ChatGPT.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to see. So here is what I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Can you give me the most recent failures that happened with SMEs in AI? So you noticed that it came to an answer pretty quickly. You noticed that it gave you all these things. So you see that it's given you some numbers and it's given you some citations. So often people are going to say that, oh, I see that there are links to certain places. I see that there are some citations. I see that there are numbers. It may be legit, right? The point is that if you didn't know and if you didn't verify these things, how would you know that this is accurate? So it's very easy. The way it responds to you, it responds very confidently. The answers seem very credible. And you'll be like, oh, there must be something there. Oh, there is a Reuters link. It's, so, but how do you know? Like this number is accurate. Of course, like this one I told you, and this one is. but some of the things that you may not know. And that's where a lot of people tend to, fall behind. They do not check these things. As you go back today, I want you to maybe ask questions around a topic that you're not familiar with, right? And then wonder that, okay, if I didn't know this topic, how would I validate or verify that this is accurate? And that's one of the problems that I'm seeing with a lot of people who are trying to build startups. They're going to wipe code these systems, but they do not think about the implications or whether the code that is being produced or what is actually happening under the hood is actually accurate or not. So with that, let me switch over to my screen and let's go Philippines. So here is a 5-pointer checklist that I want you to take away, and please feel free to take pictures. And oftentimes I tell people that anytime you feel that the AI model is responding very specifically and too fast, and it gives you detailed answers instantly, caveats, without caveats and uncertainty, I want you to have an alert, right? It may not be a hallucination necessarily, but I want you to think that, okay, it came back too fast, right? It didn't think. The second thing, if it sounds very confident and it gives very vague evidence and without any missing sources, that's another red flag, right? The third thing is it gives you citations you cannot locate, a reference to documents or cases or studies that do not exist. It can be verified. So that, and believe it or not, it still happens today. There have been countless cases that have been happening since 2023, but I'll show you an example and we'll talk about it where it just happened very recently with a company, not once, twice, and it's a big global organization. The fourth thing is when it gives you numbers without any methodology, right? So you have statistic figures presenting without explaining how they were derived. And the fifth thing is no stated uncertainty. So anytime you say you have absence of qualifiers like likely or may or based on available data. So when it says things like those, again, your antennas should be going up. So hallucinations are not bugs, but essentially they are side effects of how generative AI works. These models want to please us. They want to fill the gaps and they don't know how to say, I don't know, right? They are always going to try to give you an answer. Unless you explicitly tell and give the instruction to the model, if you do not know this, please say, I don't know, right? So that's one of the key differences. And we can have another conversation at a high level to help you understand, how these models were trained. But these are pattern recognition machines. They want to please you, and hallucinations are going to happen, right? It is a side effect, right? So it's not like a problem. It's something that you have to be aware of and learn to live with it and how to work with it. So here is a verification prompt, which I tend to find works, right? Because most people do not know that you do have the ability to slow the AI down, right? Your prompts actually can end up being as a mechanism of putting risk controls in place, right? So when you are interacting with an AI model, you can add these things, and please feel free to take pictures. You can say things such as, when you're giving me the output, make sure that you're listing the assumptions that you're making. Identify any areas of uncertainty. Make sure you provide verifiable sources. And if you cannot verify, please say so, and then give a conservative answer. So this will help minimize some of the hallucinations, and at least it will help you see how the AI is coming up with the answers, right? It will give you an ability to see how it's coming and making the decisions and giving you. But your job is not done. So even when you put this prompt, please do not take the output and just run with it. I want you to, again, take a step back and pause and verify everything that has been given to you. Click on the sources, get it, and As I had said, prompt are not just instructions. They can help you put some of the initial risk controls in place. So here is one of the cases where we had fake legal citations. So there was a case between Mr. Mata and the Avianca Airlines, and Mr. Mata had sued Avianca Airlines in 2023. And this is the famous New York case, I believe, that happened. So the lawyer on behalf of Mr. Mata presented a legal briefing to the court, and that briefing had fabricated citations and references to cases that did not exist. So this lawyer had 3 decades of expertise in law, and yet they did not verify what the AI gave. So it's not that the lawyer was not smart, it's just that he didn't understand like what the implications are when he's working with a generative AI tool. And later he admitted that this was the first time he was using ChatGPT. It was amazing, but he didn't know that it can make up things and it hallucinates. So the failure is not using AI properly, but skipping verification entirely. So I want you to remember that fluency does not mean that it's factual. So in your world, whether you want to replace legal brief from the legal perspective to the business context where you are putting client proposals or putting policy documents, the same risk applies. Here is another case that happened where the chatbot provided incorrect information. So this was in 2024 with the famous Air Canada case where a customer was interacting with a chatbot, and the chatbot gave incorrect information with respect to a fare. And when the customer saw that, okay, the Air Canada is not offering and honoring the stated fare, the customer decided to sue Air Canada. And Air Canada said, well, that's not our problem, right? And that is the bot's problem. And the court rejected the argument that the chatbot is not a separate entity from the company. The point is, and the example that I had just given about the conversation I had with the CEO of the company, ultimately, you are responsible. When you are working with generative AI technologies, any output or whatever decisions or information it is also giving to your customers, you are ultimately responsible for that. So if AI speaks to your customers through emails, policies, and FAQs, accountability always stays with you and not the tool. Here is another case where it happened and very recent. So remember I was telling about this amazing global company, wonderful company. There's nothing wrong with them. So Deloitte developed a report for the Australian government, and they did it with AI's assistance. And they missed a critical piece where some of the folks forgot to verify some of the citations and sources that the AI said that, oh, because of so and so, this is what goes in the report. And later on, the Australian government came back and they said that this report was put together with the help of AI. Using AI is not a problem, right? So you need to be transparent. But most importantly, it had fabricated information, right? Some of those things did not exist. So AI generated inaccuracies, which were identified in published document, the speed without validation costs trust, right? And once you lose trust, it's very difficult to get it back, right? So even sophisticated organizations are getting caught when human review is rushed or skipped. And the main takeaway is always AI can help speed up things, but it does not replace diligence. And I can give you countless examples where I have mentioned to people that I'm working with, whether it is customs attorneys, that please make sure that you're verifying the input as well as the output, most importantly, what the generative AI tool is giving you. And that's where the subject matter expertise becomes golden, right? So when people say that AI is going to take over your job or it's going to replace us, I actually disagree with that. I feel that we as humans are very smart, And what's going to come to our rescue is like, how do we work with these technologies, but applying our subject matter expertise and putting our critical thinking hat on always. And I promise this is the last case, but this was one of the first ones where we had an example and with respect to data leakage. So in November 2022 is when ChatGPT came out, and Samsung had a unfortunate incident where an employee pasted sensitive information into ChatGPT during normal work tasks, uh, and it was unfortunate because it was IP information. So the point is that the breach didn't happen during the cyber attack. It happened on a busy workday. And the rule of thumb is that if you wouldn't, put this information out externally or an email, don't paste it into AI because you may not know where this information is going. So some of the risks are not happening because people are being malicious. It's more about not having the right awareness, right? So, and sometimes we rush things, right? So do not rush those validations. And sometimes we tend to be lazy. So, I always like to think that these AI tools and the way they generate the drafts is almost as good as your intern doing the work. So it's great at doing first drafts, right? But you're not going to blindly trust and let it go to your client. So here is a list or like a way of framework that I wanted you to keep in mind, especially how do you make sure that you ensure that you have human in the loop when you're working with generative AI tools. So the first thing is always ensuring and keeping in mind that first draft um, should never be treated as final, right? So if anything is given to you by the AI and people are building these amazing workflows that, oh, it's going to be end-to-end autonomous, I'm like, hold on. Never treat AI outputs as final. Always verify. Second thing, you need to ensure that you have a dedicated person who's going to be reviewing this. So you have to have accountability. So determine who that person is going to be, who's going to be accountable for performing the human checks. And then the third thing is verify, right? Review before you use it. And the fourth thing is making sure that you have an approval process, right? Somebody needs to be making sure that they are authorizing the final output. The more eyes you have, the better it is. So always remember that AI supports to support the decision making, but ultimately the humans are the ones who are owning it. So remember, AI is not going to be the one who's going to get fired. Humans do. And here's another example that I wanted to show you. So oftentimes people get a little discouraged when they work with these tools and then they say, yeah, the output was not great. It didn't give me what I wanted. So it's very important that we know how we work with these tools and how we prompt them. So you look in the left, I have a very basic prompt that says that write a response to this customer complaint, right? And I might paste the thing. So it's very simple, very basic. There are no constraints. There is nothing that says about high risk output and nothing that says do not invent this. And here is this other prompt where I say that draft a response, ask clarifying questions, do not invent policy or refunds, and mark uncertain statements as verified. Provide two-tone options. So you see that how I'm providing guardrails in place, right? How I'm trying to say I want clear boundaries, and I'm also telling the tool that give options for review, right? Just go, don't give me the one thing, right? I want to be able to see the different kind of tones and I want to be able to select what works best, right? So same tool, very different risk, right? So AI literacy is knowing how to ask. And I know we are coming up on time, but here is a simple responsible AI checklist that I want you to keep in mind and take away. And it's really like a minimum baseline standard. So please feel free to take pictures. The first thing is always establish a clear purpose. You should know why you're using AI for the specific task. Always think about the problem or the pain point that you're trying to address, or how you want to see AI helping you. The second thing, do not put any kind of sensitive information in there, especially PI data. You'd be surprised that if you put in information about you, your address, and all those things, chatbot remembers that. So never paste confidential information or personal data. The third thing, always treat the AI output as a starting point. Remember, the first draft, never treat it as final. And the fourth thing, verify any information that it is providing to you, whether it is statistics, claims, citations. I know it's going to be painful. I know it's going to take time. But believe me, if you were starting with a blank slate, it would have taken you more time. So here, you just need to verify and validate what is given to you. And the fifth thing is you want to make sure you are checking for appropriate language, tone, and fairness. You would be surprised to know that these AI systems are biased, and we can have a whole another conversation with respect to why they are biased. But in reality, they're biased because the way that these models were trained. I want you to, if you've used some of the image generation models, please do me a favor today and ask you to give it a picture of a professional. And it happens to me all the time. Sometimes when it's listening, then it's going to give me something else. But 9 out of 10 times, whenever I say, give me an image of a professional, it gives me an image of a man. No offense, no problem. But women are professionals too. But it's because the data it was trained on. And the sixth thing is always have human approval. Name the person who's going to sign off before use. And the seventh thing is start small before you scale. So test with low risk task first. And this is your foundation in business. As you decide to work with these tools, things will get even more specific with respect to the roles and industry that you're in. And with that, I would like to just close out. And if you're looking to move on into 2026 with confidence, please do feel free to connect with me. I help companies build AI literacy, establish AI guardrails, and helping companies adopt AI responsibly.
Wow.
And I'm ready to take questions.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Incredible.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So
Thank you very much. Yeah.
one of the things that I appreciate about, I've been using this technology since, probably January of 2023, and something that, maybe I didn't appreciate at the time of when I was in grade school, but, having the fear of plagiarism ingrained in my brain. I was scared of that pretty much more than anything. And I think that, having a background like that, a strong background in research, but an understanding of what, it's always important for me to know what the technology is where it's getting that from. And if I can control that, in parentheses or brackets, say just extract information from this work of my work or this. But I think it's so important to have these frameworks in the back of your mind because it is a tool where you can move at exponential paces and you know but it should be sort of like I embrace the scientific method. It's a very iterative process, and I think that it can sound like exactly like you said, like exactly what the type of information you want, and but having that knowledge of like I need to go back and check this. I need to, it doesn't take that much time to do that little extra work to ensure that you can get the job done with accuracy and certainty.
And I took some note as well that I've never seen a presentation like this clear what to do and how to do it. I mean, people talk about biases, people talk about hallucinations, but you broke it down in such a way that we can practice on a daily basis. And for example, I have a very good example from yesterday that I was watching a video in Japanese, and it was very good information. So I wanted to write it down in English, and I asked ChatGPT to do that with URL. It said that, okay, I do it, but I may not have the full access to the script. But anyway, it did it, and I saw it was wrong. And I asked it again, it's wrong. Some critical information is lacking. And it kept saying until I stopped saying stop. And it's wrong. It's not full information. It said, okay, I stop. I don't have full access to the transcription. So if you can provide it, I can do it. Until I said it, it didn't. And I'm thinking about this was the video I saw, so I know it was wrong. But what if I didn't know? I just skipped and I sent it as if it were like a summary, and it happened, right? So I guess many people should see what you're presenting. I don't know how we can propagate this methodology, Jacob.
Yeah, I think it's repetition. I think that is the key, is like, having before. For me, like, I entered using this technology with a background in research, and I thought of it as like when I was teaching too, like, the output that I put in is what I'll get back. If I put in crappy prompts, I'll get, the same type of response. And I think that, you know, there's not that level of awareness. Not saying that, everybody has that level of awareness. And so I think it's, before even using this technology, is like, watching videos like this, and finding frameworks that you can practice on, and you know that repetition, just typing it and seeing it, will also stick, and so your brain, it'll just become normal for you. And I think that not only in stuff like written prompts and written information, but just also like what's coming out in terms of video generation and image generation. And there always needs to be a sense of, not, you don't want to doubt and question everything, but have in the back of your mind, like, if this is AI generated, I need to put my detective hat on, and make sure that everything checks out.
Yeah.
I love what you said, Yuka, and I'm so glad that you had your critical thinking hat on and you realized because you had seen it, right? And I feel that's where the subject matter expertise becomes so important, and knowing, right? And we talked about it, that if you didn't know, you wouldn't prompt it and you wouldn't question it back, right? You won't ask it. And what I loved what you said, Jacob, that it's repetition, right? Like muscle memory. The best way to learn is learning by doing, right? The more you're going to work, but of course, like, don't just take what it gives you and run with it, right? At the same time, so think of it as like, a new intern who's sitting with you, right? And you're kind of coaching and you're working with it. And then let's say that, okay, maybe this doesn't look right. Let's go back. And if you need help, like, feel free to reach out. It's okay to get external help, right? Because it's not possible to learn everything on your own. I mean, there are tons and tons of courses out there. And having been a practitioner in the space, I'm not going to name names that, some courses are not going to get you anywhere. But the best way is that you, ask for help, like reach out to people if you feel that their methodology is resonating or something, get external help because believe it or not, AI is here, right? So everybody will need to learn how to work with it. It has creeped into our lives before you even know it. Like, Netflix has been around. You've been interacting with your iPhones. You're already interacting with facial recognition technologies, right? So it's already creeping in very quietly in our world.
And I have a question about this reaching out. Do you have any workshop to learn this with you, or? what exactly you do with the people and companies?
Yeah, so, and thank you so much, Yuka, for asking that. So, I go and hold literacy workshops at companies.
Mm.
All our workshops are super customized. It's never like a one size fits all. So, it's always dependent on the role and the industry and the function,
Mhm.
because in order for the how they're going to apply and learn to work with AI, it's very important that it's customized for them.
Mhm.
So we definitely work with senior executives. We also do a literacy program for corporations. We have done programs for nonprofits, even for
Mhm.
government agencies, and we're doing it for compliance organizations, for international trade as well. So, one of the things I didn't tell you, I also work with a lot of companies in international trade, and I'm a strategic advisor for international trade consulting company. So I'm helping them build their AI capabilities and also training the CEO on where they can leverage generative AI and other AI technologies.
Mhm.
So I don't have a per se like a fixed, boot camp where people can come.
Mhm.
Although I think about it, it might be a good idea where I
Yeah,
can have one and
I
everybody
think.
can come.
Yeah,
So something to think about for 2026. So let me
yeah,
actually make a note of that so
yeah.
that and it could be different bands, right? So it
Mhm.
could be where you can have an AI 101. So I can
Mhm.
absolutely do that in 2026 where
Mhm.
people can come. And then
Great.
we can do custom specific workshops for people
Mhm.
depending on the role and industry and function.
Mhm. Wow, fantastic. Thank you very much. I
Yeah.
look forward to it. And
Yeah.
is does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, feel free to come off mic
Yeah.
and ask any questions or any thoughts, anything you'd like to
Mhm.
share.
Did it resonate with people?
Nobody?
Well, I think as maybe some people are formulating, a question that just sort of popped into my head is like if you're looking at like the landscape of a company, I'm curious if like what level have you seen, where there's the most, area for growth? To me, in my mind, I would think your worker bees probably use this technology because they want to be able to get a lot of work done in an efficient amount of time, while sometimes middle management and leadership could have see all the things that are being created and but not necessarily understanding what's under the hood and but would that's my idea of what possibly would happen is would love to hear some insights that you've had from working with corporations and nonprofits and other organizations.
So have you heard of the term shadow AI?
No.
Okay. So has anybody else on the call heard of shadow AI?
Never.
Never. Okay. So definitely do Google it, but I'm going to tell you what it is. So shadow AI is where employees within a corporation are quietly using AI tools outside of the organization, right? So they may be using it on their personal devices and they might be asking questions and sometimes without realizing, they may be putting sensitive information, and that's when they get into trouble. Again, they are not being malicious, right? As Jacob said, people are trying to be productive, they are trying to accelerate their work, they want to be faster and efficient. And part of it is also happening because there are no clear guidelines at companies, right? There is no clear instruction in terms of what tools you should be using, what you shouldn't be using. And that's where I feel that AI governance becomes very important. And that's something that we help companies with is you absolutely need to make sure that you have an AI policy in place, right? And you want to make sure that you are not preventing your folks from innovating, right? You want to make sure that you're providing a safe environment where people can experiment things, they can ask questions and also make mistakes, provided you don't end up in the news. But you want to make sure that you're providing them the landscape, you're providing the tools. So it's very important that you have these conversations so that people are not quietly using things outside. And if you do discover, do not penalize them, right? We just need to have open conversations. So that's essentially like, what shadow AI is, that where people are working on things outside without the company having any knowledge, or because there are too many restrictions in place and people feel that, okay, I can't use this internally, I have to go and use it outside. And the change is going to happen with leadership. Leadership needs to set the tone. They need to make sure that they're setting the right foundation and creating the environment where people can feel safe and experiment things and really become productive.
Totally agree. It looks like we have a question from Manoj.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Rick. Manoj this side from India. I run a company called Pace Wisdom Solutions. It's a IT services product engineering firm. We have our own agents, agentic AI, in organizations. So yeah, a quick question here. So we are getting into a different era, isn't it? Right, wherein AI is becoming a very integral part of our lives, personal and professional lives. So where is it actually leading us to? Is one of the questions. Are we moving towards an era wherein humans are more and more have to be leaning towards outcome-based roles? Is that what we're heading to? Because anything that's repeatable or anything that's more and more operational, is it going to be replaced by AI agents along the way? My own company can completely replace, inbound and outbound customer calls, right? So, and there is a plenty of use cases along the way. We are just scratching the surface as far as AI is concerned. So, where is this leading to? Is the question. So, one of the reports that I've read along the way is that we are moving away from a salary man era, right? So gone are the days when we will be employed in an organization for, let's say, 5, 10, 20 years, as we see in a lot of organizations. Is it going out of the window wherein the people are going to really employ or get engaged for a short term, for accomplishing a certain outcome for 6 months, 5 years, maybe a couple of years, and then move on? Is that the world that we are maybe moving towards? Yeah, I'll pause here. Many more questions, but I'll pause here. Yeah.
Lovely question, Manoj. And I also kind of tend to ask the same question. No doubt, AI is absolutely changing the way we work, right? And as you said, that AI has the capacity and the capability to automate and take over some of the mundane tasks and things that are very operational, and in customer service, it is doing amazing, right? The mindset that companies need to have is that, okay, now that the job is evolving and AI can take over some of those low-hanging fruits, how do I leverage my employees who are smart, who are intelligent, who are my assets, to put them and maybe create new tasks, which is going to generate revenue, right? So it is helping you with productivity, right? It is helping you with saving cost. But how do we put these people into generating new revenue, coming up with new products, right? Coming up with new opportunities. So that's where I feel that companies and people should be focusing on. Absolutely, AI and robotics, and of course, quantum is also on the way, is going to take over many things. However, I feel the future is not just going to be AI executing everything. It is going to be a human and an AI collaboration. So as we hear some people say that we'll have AGI, and there were some statements that we'll even have AGI like this year or next year. I don't think that's happening. So this year is over, and probably not even next year. But I feel that it's going to be important that humans are going to be in the loop, especially for critical and high risk areas. Absolutely. Unfortunately, in some places, in healthcare, people are not taking such wise decisions, but they'll learn the hard way, right? So it is important that human verification and human stays in the loop for some high critical, high stake decisions. And somebody needs to also check the AI's work, right? So it needs to be a human and machine collaboration. And those would be like my parting thoughts on this. We'll see how the world is going to evolve. But somebody had asked me a very interesting question a few months ago because I was talking to students, and then they said that what should we be majoring on? And I said, maybe you should be majoring in philosophy and psychology because that's where you are trained to ask hard questions, right? That, okay, what is going on? What is right? And the most important thing that's going to be relevant for us in the new era is going to be ensuring that our critical thinking skills remain sharp, right? So even as AI kind of takes over a lot of the things. So those would be some parting thoughts. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where things are going to go. Even I don't know. I'm excited. So let's see.
Wow. Thank you very much for this
Yes, great
closing note.
response.
Yeah.
Great.
So
One of the other questions,
Yes.
one last question before I, yeah, is that okay?
Great.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, so may not be, this is something that we are all facing down the line. We are all speaking so much about the merits of AI, the boon of AI coming our way. But very less is being spoken about the carbon footprint that is leaving down the line, right? How much of AI can we potentially use is also a question that all of us would be very cognizant about. But every query that you type is leaving a carbon footprint, is increasing your global warming, by a little more fraction. There's going to leave us uncomfortable from an environment standpoint down the line. Is that going to take a big piece of our narrative, our discussions going forward? Yeah, you know what? If you are warming up on one side, who's cooling down on the other side is a question that is not yet caught up with the conversation, but I think that will soon go to catch up. Your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yes, and that's such a great question. And I always think about it. People are unfortunately using these tools. Even as a Google, right? So I don't know if you've heard people, they say instead of looking up things in Google, they'll say, oh, I'm just going to chat GPT it, right? So each query that you put in has implications, right? So of course, I'm blanking a little bit on the numbers and thanks to the age, but I can share some stats in terms of how much energy is consumed when you put in a prompt into ChatGPT. And so it's definitely being mindful about what the implications are. And sadly, a lot of people are not paying attention, right? Because everybody is looking at the gold rush, people are rushing towards it. Corporations and governments around the world, they're pouring billions and billions of dollars, right? But people are not looking at the climate impact. I'm optimistic. I really hope that people talk more about it. There was a very nice research study that MIT had done, where they talked about when you use an image generation model versus a video generation model, how much energy it consumes compared to a text model. And it was shocking. I'm always very conscious when I'm trying to use these models for doing work. My first sense is always that I'm trying very hard not to use it for emails. I'm like, I need to be able to write this on my own. So I was like, at least I'm doing my good part on that. But it is something that we'll see how the space is going to evolve. There are thankfully, some folks, who are ethicists and who care about this and are talking about it. But I'll also tell you this. I was at the UN headquarters this week for a pre-summit event for the India AI Summit. And by the way, I will be coming to India next year. So there was the head of machine learning from Hugging Face who was there, and he talked about that there is work being done on climate scoring models as well, right? So I need to look at that, but I feel that everybody needs to be thinking about it, right? That every action, has an impact or a reaction. So people need to keep that in mind, but sadly, people don't think about it. And I really appreciate you asking that question because it's something that crosses my mind all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, like, also, I think it's whether that's a major emphasis on for leaders of AI companies and you know, big data is the cost of energy. And I think that, you know, speaking to people's bottom line and companies' bottom line can also bring about how can we do this in a more efficient manner. But also, I think the spotlight. It's harder to, you know, it's harder to hide these days, and so I think that not only the spotlight, but emphasis of younger generations of like wanting companies to approach the work ethically, cleaner, and so I think it's you have a lot of factors that I think will force the hand, but very, very critical conversation to have. And one of the things that I'd love to sort of how we can wrap up and close this year is that this talk is sort of really in line with the theme of this year is like, you know, how can this technology enhance the human experience? How can we use it as a tool to enhance our lives, enhance our work, but you know, work as partners. It's not a tool that can do everything for you. It's not a genie in a bottle, but it can be something that can really help. Uh, but before getting there, you have to really understand how you want to use it. What are the implications? And that can be anything from compliance to energy consumption. And so I feel like we've really covered a lot of great details this year. I'd love to have I can't do this in terms of video editing, but like a mashup of our YouTube of to show some of these really great points we've had of how um, you know it can enhance our human experience. It's not meant to take anything away, but to enhance our lives. Yuka, any closing words for 2025?
I can't agree more with you that with this session, we could close our Globinar series 2025 in such a way that we clearly define what it is and in the meaning and what it can do and it can't do and how we need to interact to make it better human experience. So I can't agree more with Jacob that this is the way we need to go. And what you said that psychology and philosophy is the way to go because we ask hard questions there that maybe AI can generate any good answers, right? So AI is challenging us to become better human, I guess. So that's what it is. And I'm so glad that we kept doing this until now, and we keep on going in 2026 to explore what is the human and machine collaboration in the future. And should we ask Doug the final thought if he is there?
Really great comments, Yuka, and thank you, Jacob, for your insightful comments as well. Uvika, you have demonstrated not just knowledge, but just an innate ability to communicate really complicated topics in a very simple way. As Jacob mentioned, step by step, what to do next. That just to me means that you're not just smart, but you're able to then communicate that intelligence of what's going on to others. And I'll speak for myself. Not certainly nowhere near as smart as you, and so I appreciate that. I took away many different things, but that one thing you said at the beginning about the year of responsible AI adoption. You know, we've been talking about implementation, and the responsible part is such a key aspect of it, and you've really brought that home for me. And so, thank you for speaking today. Thank you for taking the time. It inspires us to connect you with more people because more people need to meet you and benefit from the skill sets that you have. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And once again, letting us know that you're an amazing member of Global Chamber. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug. I really appreciate it. And it was really a pleasure to speak with everybody. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And I feel as a privileged member of the Global Chamber of Commerce, I'm so glad I joined before the year ended. So thank you so much, Doug, Yuka, and Jacob. And I look forward to speaking with all of you soon. And with that, I wish you all a very happy holiday season.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, I concur. Happy holidays. Let's go to 2026 and be practical philosophers using AI technology. And so, yeah, very glad to be here with you all, and happy holidays, happy new year, and see you next year.
Thank you
Happy
guys
holidays.
for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
See you.
See you next year.
See you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.